If I could turn back time, if I could find a way.
Welcome back, Home Wizards, where we love to help improve your home and improve your life. I'm Cindy Dole.
Hey, do you want to hear my impersonation of Cher?
Oh, yeah, please.
If I could turn back time. Thank you.
That's Eric Stromer. I've heard better. Come on now. You love Cher, don't you?
I do. What's not to love about
I love her. So, are you a believer in fairies and fairy gardens?
Well, I'll tell you. The explanation that we received from our last guest, she didn't convince me.
Okay.
I want to believe in another land and another world, but my concern was, what if you use pesticide? Are you like choking out the fairies?
Oh no! Now you have more guilt. Oh no!
See what I mean?
See, now you've taken it to a whole nother. See, I was better until you brought that up.
I know, right?
Oh no! So
I know.
Now we're fairy killers.
Fairy killers.
We're not just like cockroach killers.
No, you're like extinguishing
you've ruined
a whole race of fairies.
I can't. Oh gosh.
Terrible.
You just ruined it.
I can't accept. It's too much for me.
It's not just aphid killers. We are fairy
I know.
and gnome.
And then do the aphids and the fairies get along? And
no. Okay. All right.
This brings up a whole new
Okay.
philosophical
Well,
world.
I know. I want to believe, but I know. All right. Anyway, let's talk about something that we know exists, and that's dogs.
Yeah.
And you have some great pointers for building a dog house, and I also could use some help with a dog feeding station. So walk us through building a dog house. I mean, there's ways to really make it customized and look cute.
Yeah, there really are. I mean, with a dog house, the first thing you want to definitely do is get it up off the ground so that the dog is resting in a place that's just not in the mud. A lot of times they'll sell those little igloo-shaped domes that you buy at the pet store,
mm-hmm.
and then your pet is sitting on the ground inside this thing. It just ends up being terrible because there's no separation from the moist ground and the mud and the
doesn't look very comfortable.
And it doesn't look comfortable. You might as well just be, outside. So what I like to do is build a little platform, and you can use 1x2 material to do that. You just kind of and when you do dog houses, it's basically like you're constructing a mini house, and they can be,
a craftsman house, a Greek revival.
Yeah, exactly. So first you build your platform. It depends on the size of your dog too. Obviously, if you have a dog like Hazel, you're going to want to have something that's at least 3.5, 4 feet deep.
Well, Hazel's a Labradoodle, so it's pretty big.
Pretty big.
Pretty
right?
big. And for Abby and Bailey, they're Old English sheepdogs. They're pretty big. I mean, they're 70 pounds.
Exactly. And so you definitely also want to be able to access the dog house from either the entrance and exit where the dog goes in and out of, and have it big enough that you can get in there and clean it, or have some back door on it, essentially where there's a removable wall so that you can clean it out and get rid of the bedding that might be in there and wash it on occasion, because they can really get pretty nasty in there if you don't have the access to get in them. So you definitely almost want to consider it to be like remember those Barbie houses that you could open up and fold open and see everything on the inside? Conceptually, you're thinking about something like that. So it's a platform first, and it's a 1x2 base that you have a piece of plywood on top of. So imagine it would be 3.5 feet deep by 2.5 feet wide, and then the plywood subfloors on that, and then you're just erecting your 4 posts with another platform on the top, which becomes your roof plate, and then you're doing your angled roof on the top. And then you can do any kind of creative siding that you want, and the whole thing shouldn't cost you more than about $50-$60 in lumber. And what the customizable aspect to it is that you can add all sorts of really cute trim details. So if you want it to be more bric-a-brac looking or a little more whimsical, you can add some great paint details or different shaped trim on the outside. Any time you have the openings, frame them out with some trim, and it gives it a really great, cute look to it.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can paint your dog's name on it, for example. But again, I strongly suggest that you have the ability to get in there and clean it out.
Yeah, and I love not only being able to, cleaning it out I don't love, but you want to basically have the rewards of it being clean, because it can get kind of stinky, and especially our dog beds that are inside the house. I love how there's a zip fabric that you can take off the actual pillow and put it in the wash,
Right.
So have that as a feature. And in terms of customizing the doghouse roof, have you seen these living roofs for dog houses?
Yeah, it's a really great idea.
Isn't that cute?
Yeah, because what you're doing is you're and they've been doing this in Europe, especially in Germany, for hundreds, if not thousands of years, where you have a living roof so that it acts as an ultimate insulation.
Mm-hmm.
And you're also greening it up a bit. So when it rains, you just have to make sure that there's drainage underneath it so it won't just rot out the roof, but you have essentially a little gutter coming off the top. But then you can put some sod on top of it and even plant a tiny little
succulents, anything, yeah.
You could have fairies there, too.
You could have
fairy football
fairies.
field.
Dog fairies.
Exactly. And then the main thing, though, again, is that, and by the way, this project is not going to just take a couple hours. This would probably be more like a 2-day project once you get all your materials together. And there's some great blueprints online for you if you're handy and you have a couple of different power tools like a circular saw and a jigsaw and that kind of stuff to cut out all sorts of details. So you're going to definitely want to give yourself at least a weekend to do something like this.
Well, I've seen some of these playhouses that are professionally built. I mean, for little girls, little boys, I mean, it can look almost like a castle.
Yeah.
Or, you know what I mean? Dungeons and Dragons or, Barbie or whatever. And basically you can do that same thing for your pet,
Exactly. And then again, if you can, keep all the food away from the doghouse because you don't want to attract rodents. You want the dog to come in and eat either in the house or right outside your back door so that you can clean all that.
We want fairies. We don't want rodents. We have to be select about what we want.
There you go.
All right, so back to the food thing. Here's a project that I really want to do, and that's building a dog feeding station. So now here we've got this fancy kitchen, but we have the dog bowls that we just put on the floor, and that's not working. We don't want to play that way. So Honey Badger doesn't play that way.
No, she doesn't.
And so
and you know what a great thing to do is to create a station that not only has the bowls up off the ground,
yes,
but then there's some storage for
underneath.
Dog food underneath. Exactly.
So I'm thinking
like a pet food caddy.
It's like, exactly. And I've seen some where you use almost like a tray, like a wooden tray as the lid, where you would maybe cut holes for the food bowls. Maybe one could be the water bowl, the other's the food bowl, which is great for our big dogs' backs, right? They aren't having to slouch.
Yep,
but then
absolutely.
How could you create almost like that little cupboard underneath with a hinge to store the food?
Well, there's plans to it, which we'll put up on the website in my book that I would love for you guys to see because it kind of lays it out in a very simple and easy to follow schematic. So it's essentially a miniature cabinet, and then on top of it, it's just tall enough so that, for example, if you have a dog like Hazel, that's a relatively large-sized dog, it's going to be about 8 inches off the ground or a little higher. And then you have a little cabinet doors underneath where you can put your dog food in containers and slide it in and out of there whenever you need to feed the dog. And it keeps everything in a really great area where it doesn't kind of get all over the place. And when we don't use our pet caddy, what ends up happening is that, you get the little kibble all over the floor, and then pretty soon the kids are kicking it around and it just gets to be crazy. So I love to have the idea where it's all contained in one simple unit.
And then to paint it, so it looks like it is a piece of furniture and it belongs in your home, so it fits, with your design style.
Exactly. You can put wheels on it. You can paint it to look like anything that tickles your fancy. And so, the one that I did was sort of red. It looked like a little fire truck. It's kind of cute. And then I just put Hazel's name on it in yellow.
Now, I'm wondering, if we aren't handy, are there some things that we could just buy to create, again, this kind of dog feeding station? Could you buy like a large rectangular box of some kind, almost like a bench that has, the flap up, and you could now convert that into?
Yeah, you could do that, or you could, like those room service trays are great in terms of having that on the floor, just slightly off the ground. And then the other thing, too, is I love to have the dog or the cat food always stored in a Tupperware-like container or something. They sell these 5-gallon buckets that have actual screw-on tops, and I think those work really well, too, because not only does it keep the product fresh, but, again, there's nothing worse than, errant dog food going in and out of the house or on the floor. And, again, it attracts rodents if you're on the first floor, so you want to definitely be careful about that, not have, especially in a garage scenario where there is access to the outdoors. If there's dog food on the ground, you can bet that rodents are going to show up.
Now, if you want to spend a lot of money and don't feel like either going inexpensive or doing it yourself, there's a website called Beyond the Crate, beyondthecrate.com, and they have this amazing $25,000 doghouse that is it's basically a terracotta lighting and air conditioning hacienda for your
Wow,
dog.
amazing.
I know. It's a little over the top. Rex-Mex, they're calling it.
Wow, that sounds incredible.
Yeah.
How much do you think that thing goes for?
They're saying about $15,000, well, anywhere from $5,000 to $15,000. But check out the website beyondthecrate.com, and these are already pre-made things. I mean, I'm looking at another one. It's a Mongolian pet tent, and that one is $5,000. I mean, nothing's too good for Hazel, right?
No, and you know what else I've done too is build little stairs to go up to the bed.
Yes.
When the dogs get a little bit older, so that they have a little ramp to get up on top of the bed. My dad's poor Lhasa Apso, Tina, wasn't able to jump up on the bed anymore, so I had to build her little stairs.
Yeah, that's handy because a lot of times the ones that you buy, I again, because we have these big dogs, you try to buy some of these at the pet stores, or I should say the pet supply stores. They're just too small, and so you might need to have something bigger for those large breeds.
Well, those dogs of yours are huge. They can easily jump on a bed, can't they?
They're kind of like teddy bears. Yeah.
Yeah, they're great.
All right. When we come back, we're going to talk about Monday is a day off for a lot of folks. It's President's Day. And there are a lot of sales. There's this big thing known as the President's Day sale that's been going around for years. It was started by a car salesman. But there really are some good deals you can find for the home. And we're going to help kind of navigate your way if you are out and about shopping through now, this weekend and Monday, what you should look for in terms of maybe some great furniture or supplies for your home decor. You're listening to Home Wizards as we love to help improve your home, improve your life. Eric Stromer, Cindy Dole. The fun continues after this on KFWB News Talk 980.